But now,
Okay.
guys, Panathinaikos versus Anadolu Efes. Who is advancing and what is the final score? We have to write down. I already did, but I'm going to wait for you guys. To me, this is an exciting series, so I'll start with that.
I think it's going to be better than many people think.
For
probably.
sure. For sure.
I think a lot of people actually think that Efes have a real chance at upsetting Panathinaikos.
We will see. And let's see
I'm
what
not
you
surprised.
think. Let's see what you think, Augusto.
Let's see.
The time that the moment that can make us legends.
We just match every single time.
No,
we matched with the play-in prediction.
Yeah.
Now we're matching with this one.
Okay.
3-1, 3-1, and you got
I got 3-1.
3-2.
PAO and 5.
PAO and 5. Okay.
Okay, so it's not going to be a meme, probably.
No.
No memes today with Panathinaikos. Unless Efes is gonna upset Panathinaikos, and then we all gonna look like fools. And Shane Larkins, Elijah Bryans, and others from FSIs, which is possible, and that's why I predict 5-game series actually, because I think that Efes is an opponent to respect. They have this 8-game winning streak, so there's a lot of confidence, which is huge heading into the playoffs. All those injuries, all those losses, coaching changes, I think it kind of made them stronger. It made them, united as a team. This is a huge confidence boost. Even those wins included Shane Larkin's flu game, where it was told that Shane was not even, he didn't feel well enough to make a flight to Belgrade, but he still went there and he helped contributed in that tough win. A lot of things had happened, and the rhythm is on their side. I think that they match up Panathinaikos quite good. We're talking about top 3 offenses in the EuroLeague this season, so you can expect higher scoring games. Efes has a lot of ball handlers, shot creators to match Panathinaikos' offensive greatness. If you watch their games, Efes won big time in Istanbul against Panathinaikos, but even though this game that ended up in a double-digit win in Waka for Panathinaikos, Efes was still close. 5 minutes until the game, the game was tied, and actually Efes had a double-digit lead in the first half. And it took Kendrick Nunn's 30-point half to beat Efes that night. So I think that a lot of signs indicate that we might have close series. I think Efes has a character even to take one game in Waka. But the thing is that I predict 5 games, and if the game 5 is in Waka, I don't see anybody else winning except from the home team. Panathinaikos have the best home game record in the EuroLeague, 13 of 17 wins in the EuroLeague. So that's why I picked Panathinaikos in the series.
So we both have 3-1.
Yeah.
And I think we got to explain ourselves. I think 3-1 means one game will go to PAO away. So first of all, we were talking about home court advantage maybe 10 times on this podcast already when it comes to Panathinaikos. And they got it. They got the home court advantage in this playoff series. Of course, we're talking about it because their away record is negative. One of the few negative records when it comes to the top 4 teams. They have 8 and 9 away, and their home court record is actually the best in the league, 14-3. So obviously, that's why we're talking about it, emphasizing it so much. And this advantage, of course, will be very important in the series because I think Efes, you said they're the hottest. You didn't say they're the hottest team, but they are the hottest team.
Yeah, that was a historical season conclusion.
Yeah.
8
wins in a row, but also 9-1 if you look at last 10. So you could say that way it still points to the same thing. They're in shape. They did play against some teams that you would expect them to win. So on the other hand,
against 7 of 8 of them,
Yeah.
I would expect them to win. So
all those wins were against teams that were not in top 8 actually.
Yeah.
So they're, let's say, this winning streak will get tested against big opponents. As I've checked, against top 6 teams, Efes is only 2-8, something like that. So that's a red flag.
But my point was, I was going to go with your prediction before, but then I was like, okay, I want to be a bit bolder, and I have this whole scenario in my head, which is completely hypothetical, but I think first 2 games will go to PAO. And then I think the third game, they'll come to Istanbul a bit relaxed, a bit like they like to relaxed on defense especially. And I think they'll drop one game in Efes in Istanbul. And then I think Ergin Ataman will go on a post-game conference or comment and say, this guy, they weren't in the game. He'll upset everyone. Everyone's going to get motivated and just get that game 4 win and close the series. This is all hypothetical bullshit in my mind, but I think, honestly, they'll get one game in Istanbul.
By the way,
highly likely that he also blames the refs for that loss, and the refs will give PAO like 35 free throws in game 4.
but one thing he won't go after is his opponent. That's going to be the most peaceful Ataman against the opponent. You remember what happened with Maccabi last year? Of course, it's a former Efes team and actually former Ataman's team. And actually, I heard people from a basketball market saying that Ataman's influence in Efes decision-making is still kind of felt, I would say, especially hiring head coaches and the front office people. So I mean, he's not going after.
So it's
Efes.
fixed. So it's fixed.
So
Basically.
it's Ataman's NBA team versus Ataman's G League team in the quarterfinals that we are having.
Whoa.
I'm sorry, Efes.
It's super disrespectful.
It's just a joke. Come on now. How much time do I have? I thought PAO are going to win in 4 games. I see a lot of people, thinking that Efes is playing this great basketball, and they really do. But by the way, I think this is going to be the most fun series to watch. I think the games are going to be like 106 to 103. Every time these two teams play, both are heavily offense oriented, and this is one of the reasons why I think PAO is the favorite, because in every matchup that is decided on offense, I can't just see the other team winning. Although Efes has great offense, they make the most threes. They have the best three-pointer percentage in the second part of the regular season. Panathinaikos allowed the second worst three-pointer percentage this season. And, the way Panathinaikos defend in pick and rolls, they force the opponents to shoot three-pointers in the closeout situations. Efes are really a great team at exploiting that. But PAO have the best player in the tournament. And the shape that Kendrick Nunn is in this season is just ridiculous. He is way better than he was last year, and we already saw what he did last season in the playoffs against Maccabi. Panathinaikos have ridiculous fourth quarter numbers. I sent this to Donatas, I think, this weekend. Like, they have an offensive rating on 137 in the fourth quarter, which is absolutely ridiculous. They shoot crazy percentage from free. And that's why I just think that Panathinaikos are going to win this. I think the experience is also on their side. You have Kostas Lukas there too.
He's going to step up his game for sure.
It's going to happen. And it's not like Efes have some really, really great defense that can really do a lot to Panathinaikos. I think it's going to be about their offenses. And when it's about their offense, I just can't bet against Panathinaikos. If Efes decides to play through their centers a lot, Poirier and Naturu, like if they decide to use those a lot, it can hurt Panathinaikos. But I think a deeper, guard rotation for PAO is going to play a huge part. And I just think that, Efes don't really have what to offer against all these guards of Panathinaikos. So I was thinking maybe about PAO in 5, but I was like, I don't know. I liked how Maccabi matched up last year against PAO.
And you don't like how Efes does?
I like the form that Efes are in right now, but in this matchup, I just see PAO winning in 4 games.
What's interesting about those teams that even though they produce the best offense in the EuroLeague according to Bibalytics and all
first
those
and second
parameters.
Right?
Yeah. I think, maybe top 3 in full season, but in the recent shape, we're talking about top 2 teams in the EuroLeague. I think that good defensive stretches will be important and might decide the game. And when I thought about their defensive potential, I just thought that, especially with Bobo out, I thought that Panathinaikos is a little bit more balanced defensively. You can find, Jerian Grant, he will do his part. Juancho Hernangomez in an elite shape this season. And also in the paint, Gabriel against some matchups and stuff. I just think that, there are physical players like even Dinos Mitoglu and the others. I just think that, when you look at the balance defensively, they have more potential to have those good defensive runs that will be important in those super high scoring games. And Efes, with Bobo out, of course, they have size, length, and Dozier and stuff, but with Bobo out, I'm liking of that balance. More guys who can make those really important stops when it matters in the four quarters, and Panathinaikos is just a crazy team offensively.
And also with the Bobo out now, I think, Efes just lost another option of versatility offensively. Like, it was super important, Boboa running off screens against Kendrick Nunn. It was super important in the fourth quarter in Oaxaca. Actually, the last time that Efes lost in the EuroLeague, right before the break in February.
Yeah.
That was super important in the fourth quarter. And, this is another way of how you can attack or target Panathinaikos' defense. Now you are left to rely on a lot of pick and rolls. I'm not sure if they're going to involve Oturu and Poirier in the post, just to have that versatility. They don't have a tall free man. I'm talking about like Bonzi Carlson type of forward, because last year it was a huge issue for Panathinaikos. Yeah. They play free guards, basically. Like PJ Dozier is not the same type of player that Bonzi Carlson is. And that created a lot of problems for PAO. I'm not seeing where that can happen in that position from Efes point of view. So I think PAO just have more options, and they have the best player in the series and the best player in the EuroLeague,
and that's
offensively.
Last point I wanted to make, and maybe a little bit of a bold prediction, but I think the thing to watch is Kendrick Nunn and some kind of a record broken in this series, because he had his third best scoring game against Efes with 36 points. We were talking about that earlier. In the game he didn't play, that actually Efes won, he wasn't there. So I think in this series, he's going to break some records, and maybe some kind of like a most points in a single playoff game record will fall.
What's the record?
I tried to find, but I could only find in all taking regular season and playoffs, and maybe you have better sources, but
your answer should have been, it doesn't matter. Kendrick Nunn is still going to break it. But it was actually interesting, like how Efes defended Kendrick Nunn, how they tried to slow him down. Let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that. So they put, actually at the start of the game, Efes had Ersan Osmani like guarding Nunn. Derek Willis. And on every pick and roll, they switched and they just left Kendrick Nunn to attack on every ISO situation. And
the record is already broken. The record is broken. Don't worry about it. It'll be broken easily.
36.
36.
36?
36.
That's like 3/4 for Kendrick Nunn sometimes. So I'm really interested to see how Efes are going to try to slow down Kendrick Nunn. Are they going to allow him to break the scoring record but ignore all the other guys that's around him?
Could be the case.
It's going to be interesting. They kind of try to do that in a little way, but again, their defense is not as good to actually pull that off, I think. So
anyways, should be exciting series.